What's going on, good people? Hope all is well. Uh, we got those sleepy eyes again, as you can see. Early morning rise because my brain won't seem to shut down. I was thinking about something. It's actually been on my mind for quite a while, and it's related to fatherhood. And I realized that I've been someone's daddy for over half my life, or just about half my life. I've been responsible for, well, partially responsible for the well being of other beings. And I realized that during the course of time, I wasn't always a well being. Um, I talk wellness as in mentally stable. I don't want to give the impression that at any point I was headed for the psychiatric ward. That's far from what I'm talking about. Just talking about dealing with the problems of the world, the things that go on when it comes to raising a child or children, um, trying to raise yourself. Because I don't think that we realize at 25, 26, you're still not, you're not worldly. You don't know enough about anything. And in our community, oftentimes, we're kind of on trial by fire. There's this thing where we reach a certain age and our parents say, all right, you have to get out of my house. We all, those of us that are of color, I don't want this to sound racist, but I think that's the best way to put it. Those of us that are of color um, know exactly what I'm talking about. How many times you heard your mother and or father say, when you reach 18, you're getting out of my house. Or when you get 21, you're getting out of my house. That's not enough time. That's not enough time for us to learn what it is we need to learn about life. Because remember, up until that point, we're considered children. And we're not given the responsibilities or taught the responsibilities of adults. Whether that's managing a home, managing finances, uh, doctors appointments, and taking care of yourself that way, or um, there's a lot of little things, we just don't know. How to go grocery shopping, how to wash clothes, how to cook yourself a proper meal, and let alone take care of a child. We don't know these things. I think it's taken for granted that if we see other people doing them, that we automatically know how, and it's not true. And it's something that I learned early on, raising my children. Is we all want to claim that smart child. My child is the smartest around, but they react naturally to certain situations, and some react quicker than others. Doesn't necessarily mean the child is smart. It means they're doing what naturally comes to them. It's up to us to encourage the learning, to build on that foundation that they're born with, to help them through and be smart, so to speak. Um, y'all excuse me. I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to talk because I feel like talking. Um, so yeah, back to where I started with this. I realized that I've been a parent. I've been responsible for someone um, for a great portion of my life. I did say half, but I'm not that old. old enough, but not that old. No, actually, when I think about it, I pretty much half my life, um, I've been a parent. Um, my parents, I think they were good parents. I think they did what they could with what they had, and um, I did see a lot of things that they did right and a lot of things that they did wrong, and I learned from that. Um, I was fortunate that before my father passed, him and I had a very tight bond, and I was able to run things by him, or he would give me subtle hints on how to do things and how not to. Um, but a lot of times we don't get that. I could have used more, but I got some, and I'm thankful. Um, yeah, as I was saying, I could have used more education on what it was to be an adult, but I think I got a lot more than most, and I was fortunate for that. And then I had the benefit of some aunts and uncles and older cousins who took time to talk and with subtlety show me things that they had learned. Um, I did have some good adults around me during my college years and even in my neighborhood. Even in my old neighborhood, I had it as well. So, I can't say I was my life was void of opportunities to learn. But I'm just speaking in general. It's not just about me. It's about what I see. Because remember a lot of my peers. Well, you don't remember, but a lot of my peers or a lot of the people in my peer group, um, they lived through what I'm talking about, and that is that when you get a certain age, you've got to get out and get on your own. Um, and where I related this to other ethnic groups is, well, before I go there, in the first half of this, I talked about, or first um, part of this recording, I talked about people of color. Um, I rather use that as opposed to the word minorities, uh, because from what my eyes alone see, um, what were the people traditionally called people of color, whether it's uh, African American or Asian, um, doesn't matter, Hispanic. Um, Seems like that's the majority of the people in this country, from what my eyes see, um, from what my ears hear. Um, I always thought that label minority was degrading, even as a young boy before I really knew what it meant. So I don't like to use that. Um, I don't even know that people of color is correct, um, but I think it's more acceptable. At least it is to me. So, but anyway, in for lack of a better phrase, when you have white families uh, raising children, and I'm not saying all, but again, I'm going by my experiences and my understanding. You know, they're raised at home, obviously. They go off to school, come back home, work. They're taught to save and manage their finances, and they're taught to take care of themselves. And when it is time for them to um, leave the nest, they're stable. They're a lot more stable, I should say. Um, and I know this is not 100%. It's it's something that happens more often than not, and less often in our community. But they're able to, whether it's have money to buy a piece of property or um, just to be able to sustain themselves. If it was jumping into taking care of a family, they have a foundation because they were able to see more and be around more of that at that stage of their lives where they're considered adults. You see what I'm saying? Where we're trying to fend for ourselves at 18 or 21, they're getting out there at 25, maybe even 30, um, with the benefit of having their parents close to them and teaching them the things that they need to know for survival. So we're kind of set up. I don't want to say set up to fail. That's not correct, but we're kind of behind the eight ball from the start, and we have to look at that. Um, Personally, my children won't have to um, go out on their own like that, and um, they don't live with me at this point. They live with their moms, but they all know, and their moms are fully aware that if it came down to them needing to leave home for whatever the reasons are, that excuse me, that daddy says no, not until you're ready. Come stay with me. It's just what it is. Don't want to make a big deal out of that. But I think we need to um, re-examine the tools that we give our children, or the lack of tools that we give our children, um, in preparation for them to get out on their own and make their way in this world. I'm looking at my older children who have children, and I will credit their mom for not going with the "you have to get out at a certain age" speech. I'm sure she thought of it many a times. I'm sure they worked her nerves to the point where she was like, "You gotta go." Part of the growing process, though. Um, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I know. I was there. We've spoken about this on many occasions, late night, early morning, whatever. But I credit her for allowing them to stay, um, and get ready. Um, my younger girls, they haven't reached that stage yet, so I can't speak to it. But I have to believe, knowing the person that their mom is, that she will be sure that they're prepared before letting them fly on their own. Excuse me, fly on their own. Um, so yeah, I think we have to get out of that cycle of just kind of pushing our kids out there, and remembering that their age, as in numerics, does not determine their maturity. I think that's a big deal. And I wanted to touch on where I think this all comes from. Um, you don't have to agree with me, but I think if you think about it, um, probably will, at least to some degree. Um, I often wondered, why there was such a difference um, within the families in our community versus others when it came to um, children being released to the world so quickly. And then I started thinking back into history, and I said, well, you look at how during slave times, the families were separated. Um, Whenever master thought he could earn a good dollar for the offspring of slaves, those slaves would be sold off. Um, and this is just my philosophy in terms of why I think this situation is with the parents trying to get rid of their I don't want to say get rid of trying to get their kids to move out early, and make their own way. I think as time went on, and we weren't technically slaves, uh, parents wanted to see their children get away from the master that they knew, and they wanted to see them with some sort of freedom. So master was no longer master. He was just a landowner who whose property they worked on. They were free to go and come as they wanted, or come and go as they wanted. But we know how that went. But parents being in debt with that landowner, uh, didn't want to put that kind of onus on their children, so they had them leave and make their own way. I don't know. It's just my thinking. I mean, might be a bit of rambling. Again, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just woke up feeling like talking, so I did. But anywho, enough rambling. Um, yeah, let's reconsider our children, and when we find it, uh, or when we determine the time is right for them to move on and be on their own. We have to think: did we prepare them? Did we give them all the tools that they need, uh, for survival? Sometimes we got to look at ourselves and say, did we have all the tools, or did we have all the tools? Um, it's okay to ask for help or assistance. Um, yeah, there's a distinct difference for me between help and assistance. Help for me is someone is just doing it for you. Assistance means you're being taught, how to do whatever it is you're trying to manage, trying to accomplish. So yeah, we have to look at ourselves and make sure that we have the right equipment, the right tools to give them. All right, I think that's enough. I think y'all are tired of me now. But anyway, thanks for listening, and as always, comment, comment, comment. I appreciate the comments. I want to know what you all think about my thoughts, personally, or just the topics in general, as I post them. Uh, Check out the Stark Naked Truth. The web page is coming soon. I'm working on that. You guys see, I have T-shirts that I was selling in an effort to help with production and those kind of things. Um, Check out the Facebook page. I'm going to start filling up the YouTube with videos. Uh, just going to put different things up. And if you guys have topics that you want to discuss, or you would like my opinion on, please post them. You can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on YouTube. Soon enough, the webpage, doesn't matter. Just hit me up. Let me know. Some of you have my number. I don't mind giving it out. Call me. I probably won't put it on this video because we don't want a bunch of weirdos calling me. But if you want to talk about it as opposed to texting or typing or whatever, hit me up. and I'll shoot you my number, or shoot me your number. Either way. Anyway, you guys have a good one.